Hi, my name is Alfredo Rivera.
My name is Kaylin Singleton.
I'm Desiree Stroud.
I'm Destiny Smith.
I'm Prince Tando.
The digital marketing country report that we have started is India and South Africa. The agenda for today will be an overview of the countries, the profile, the way they use the internet, search engine marketing, the way they use mobile devices in their country, telecommunication infrastructure and regulation throughout the country, and the digital marketing in each country.
We start with India. The legal name for India is the Republic of India, and the capital is New Delhi. Now, India got independence as far back as 1947. The type of government that India practices is the Federal Parliamentary Republic. The country code is +91, and the internet domain is IN. India profile in terms of geography and demography. The area is about 3,287,263 square kilometers. The bordering countries are Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, China, Nepal, and Pakistan. The climate of India varies from tropical monsoon in the south to the temperate weather in the north. The population is about 1.3 million, which is second to China. 1.3 billion, excuse me, which is second to China. The main ethnic groups are Indo-Aryan, which is 72%, Dravidian, which is 25%, Mongoloid, and other ethnic groups make up about 3% of the entire population. The main languages spoken in India are Hindi, which is 43.6%, Bengali, which is 8%, Marathi, which is 6.9%, Tamil, which is 5.7%, Gujarati, which is 4.6%, Urdu, which is 4.2%, and other minor languages constitute about 5.6%. The major religions are Hindu, Muslim, and Christian. And we have other minor religions that constitute about 2%. Now, in terms of economic landscape, if you are to look at the Heritage Foundation 2020 Index of Economic Freedom, the overall score for India is about 56.5%, with its fiscal health at 13.1%. In terms of open markets, we look at trade freedom, investment freedom, financial freedom, and in terms of regulatory efficiency, we look at the business freedom, the labor freedom, the monetary freedom. In terms of rule of law, we also look at property rights, judicial effectiveness, government integrity, and in that order. You may ask, why is this important? Well, this is important because we are talking of digital marketing here. You must know, in case you want to do investment in India, you should be aware of these statistics. The GDP of India is 2.719 trillion. And then the GDP per capita is about 2009.98 cents. The GDP per capita is calculated by taking the entire population and divided by the amount of money that the country has. And that, it is assumed that each individual, each Indian is entitled to about $2,000 equivalent. Now, the main exports of India are diamonds, refined petroleum, aluminum, raw sugar, and the main trading partners are US, UAE, that is United Arab Emirates, Hong Kong, and China. We have other minor trading partners, but for the purpose of our analysis, we're just going to look at the main trading partners. The main imports of China are crude petroleum, gold, diamonds, palm oil, and copper. And the trading partners in terms of imports are China, US, UAE, Saudi Arabia. That is not to say that these are the only trading partners, but I would like to emphasize that here we are just looking at the main trading partners in terms of percentages. And then the unemployment rate in India is about 2.6%, and the inflation rate about 35%. Foreign direct investment inflow into India is about 42.3 billion US dollars, and the currency is Indian rupee.
Hi, it's Alfredo Rivera, and today I'll be talking to you about internet in India. The first thing we'll consider is the factors that influence the internet within India. One of the most influential factors in India is the location. Based on whether you're in a village or you're in the main cities or you're far out in the farmlands is very important in India in relevance to whether you have internet access or not. So there's not many cell phone towers if you're not near the main cities and things of this nature. So if you live out or in a small village where there's not much power or things of that nature, you probably won't have access to internet. Another influential factor is the amount of per capita income received by individuals. In countries such as India that have big economies with poor per capita income, the internet represents an education tool. And with a low education level and a low per capita income, this explains why India doesn't have that big of a percentage of internet users. The Indian government knows the country struggles with digitalization. So to combat this, they started a program called Digital India. This program will help in ensuring convenience, ease of using, and ease of access to digital resources. With this program in place, India will plan to increase their usage and understanding of digital resources and the internet over the coming years. Now, internet penetration. Internet penetration is a percentage of the total population of any given country or region that uses the internet. So you can think of internet penetration just as how relevant the internet is being used within one country. And from 2017 to 2020, the internet penetration with India has risen from 34% to 50%. Now, I know 50% of a country doesn't seem like a lot is being used, but in the case of India, 50% of the population would be around 1.3 billion people. So this is pretty large. Now we'll talk about trends, payment methods, and social media within India. At the rate in which internet usage is growing, India is predicted to have around 650 million internet users by 2023. This is if the rate stays the same. Even if it increases, they should have more than that. The monthly average data consumption in India is around 11,000 megabytes. The amount of monthly active social media users is 310 million, which is quite large. The leading social network being used in India is YouTube, and Facebook holds about 85% of the social media share in consideration to Twitter, Instagram, and things of that like. Now, one thing that India is very involved with recently and starting to grow more and more is digital payment methods. So some of these forms are bank cards, USSD, the AEPS, the UPI, mobile wallets, point of sale, internet banking, mobile banking, and BHIM app, which is all forms of payment on your phone or quick, easy access. So with this trend, digitalization with India is growing.
Cool. So I'm Dedrick, and I'm gonna be talking about the social networks and media in India. India has opened their arms to the internet and all social media networks that it has to offer within the internet. With over 680 million active internet consumers, and growing. Ages from 16 to 62, the Indian population has quite a dependence on the internet, as you can see based on what Alfredo said on his last slide. India is also the second largest online market, just behind China. And with the use of smartphones become more accessible, rising the spike in internet users of the country is going to be amazing. So just a little history to build off what Alfredo said. Okert was one of the biggest social media sites that were available to people. But in 2014, it shut down, and that's when Facebook became that household name that everybody knows. And as of 2020, Facebook has the most Indian users up to date, with close to 300 million users. And this is basically just a chart just to show you the numbers in real life. So as everybody knows, Facebook is that leader in that country. Right behind it is YouTube, and really at an equal is WhatsApp, a big app in form in which you communicate. And then I guess right behind that would be Facebook, and then Instagram and TikTok. So the digital marketing in India. So a couple of points is India's digital marketing area is growing every month in amazing numbers. Like Alfredo said, it's growing 20% to 35% annually. And like another point I said already, has the largest Facebook population. And on average, Indians spend about approximately 3 to 4 hours on social media every day. And this is just another chart just to show you what the numbers look like in India compared by millions. So the online behavior in India. So India's retail industry has been on the uprise within the past 5 years, with some potential for growth and upside to the country that focuses on a lot, especially in the e-commerce market. Millions of Indians online. One of them, 330 million use smartphones. Due to the 4G, non-metros and even rural populations are getting online. Vernacular and video drive non-metros and rural areas. 75% of the non-English searches are Hindu. Omni-channel experiences are driving sales. Stores near me type search is becoming a big thing in retail shopping experience. Digital spending is expected to grow from a current 40 billion to 100 billion by 2020. Online food ordering sectors have now grown to very high average daily orders, and 50% of the video content are being watched from a 4G connection.
Hi, I'm Destiny, and I'll be talking about India's search engine and industry trends. India's most popular search engine is Google. In comparison to other search engines like Bing, Yahoo, and DuckDuckGo, they are being used in India. Google dominates them, as you can see on that graph. India does have its own search engine. However, their search engines have faced poor timing, and Google claims an 81% market share in India. Next, I'll be talking about industry trends, or FMCG. One advantage of FMCG in India is the growing demand for rising income, and the growing growth population has been the key growth for FMCG.
Hi, so I'm Kaylin, and I'll be talking about mobile technology as well as other available technologies in India. So as far as smartphones, as of 2020, there's 696 billion smartphone users in India, but by 2025, they predict that there will be 973 million, around 973 million people who are using smartphones. So as of 2018, 60.2 million people in India use tablets, which is about 4.6% of the population, and 17%, around 17% of its internet users. 23% of people in urban areas in India have access to computers, and 4% of households in rural areas have access to computers. As of 2018, the amount of homes that have televisions in India hit a total amount of 197 million. So, and some of the most popular activities people in India like to do on their smartphones would be playing video games, looking for product information, using a search engine, watching videos, and visiting a social network site. But as you can see, they visit a lot of social networks, working sites, a lot of social network sites, more than anything else. 21% of Indian smartphone users. And so the breakdown of the telecommunication infrastructure in India will show us the market size, the sector, competition, composition, key trends, and government initiatives. India, it has the second largest telecommunication network. It has the fastest growing app market, and it has the second highest number of internet users. Their composition, there's 1.75% of wireline user subscribers, which is the same thing as landlines, and there's 98.28% that are wireless. There are 44.27% of rural users, telephone subscribers, as well as 55.73% of telephone subscribers that year, of this year. In the key trends, there's 718.74 million internet subscribers, and the government initiatives are the National Digital Communication Policy of 2016 or 18, and the Phased Manufacturing Program, abbreviated to be PMP. And then, okay, so the telecommunication regulations in India have two important regulations that guide their telegraphy rules. So two of them are the Indian Telegraph Act of 1885 and the Indian Wireless Telegraph Act of 1933. Under these acts, the government has the right to preserve, institute, and operate telegraphy equipment, and has the right to give out licenses for related activities. There's penalties that these two acts outline, and one of them is if you operate a telegraph without permission, it is an offense that gives the offender a fine up to 500 Indian rupees. The penalty for breaching a license is a fine up to 1,000 Indian rupees. Under the Indian Wireless Telegraph Act of 1933, having a wireless transmitter without a license is not permitted, and the offender could be imprisoned for up to 3 years, receive a fine of 1,000 Indian rupees, or both punishments. Now we'll move on to South Africa. Okay, so I guess I'm doing the overview.
Prince, go ahead. I'll go ahead and start for this section since Prince is not here. So for the overview for South Africa, the legal name is the Republic of South Africa.
Excuse me,
Yes.
I'm back.
Go ahead.
I don't know what happened. Okay. All right. So South Africa, the legal name for South Africa is the Republic of South Africa. And it's referred to as the Rainbow Nation because of its diverse nature. You notice that we are saying that capital cities instead of capital city. The reason being that the South Africa has divided the administrative, the legislative, and judicial aspects of government, apportioned them to particular cities as their capital. So Pretoria is the administrative capital. Cape Town is the legislative capital, whereas Bloemfontein is the judicial capital. South Africa got independence as far back as 1994 officially, but the actual independence was back in 1934, and then in 1961 it was declared as a republic. But the reason why it is seen to be that 1994 is the actual date of independence was the fact that Nelson Mandela, who was imprisoned due to his social activism against the apartheid government led by F.W. de Klerk, who was the president of the National Party at that time, came to practice what is called a constitutional multi-party democracy for the first time. And so that is why 1994 is seen as the time of independence. The country code is 20+27, and the internet domain is .za. The other aspect that we have to talk about right now is the geography and the demography. South Africa has an area of about 1,222,803 square kilometers. And the countries that are bordering South Africa are Botswana, Lesotho, Mozambique, Namibia, Eswatini, which was formerly Swaziland, and then Zimbabwe. These are all countries in the north, northwest, and northeast, but it is almost surrounded by both the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian Ocean as maritime borders. Now, the climate is mostly semi-arid. It ranges from sunny days to cool nights. And then the population of South Africa is estimated to be 53.78 million, of which male constitute about 28.78 million and female constitute about 30 million. The ethnic groups, and here I have to emphasize that we are concerned about the main ethnic groups. So Black South Africans constitute about 80.9% of the entire population, and colored population constitute about 8.8%. Colored here refers to those who are not originally South Africans, but they migrated from the Netherlands into South Africa. And then they had, in other words, you refer to them as the mixed race. It's a combination of whites and blacks. And then the white population is about 7.8%. And then we have 2.5% apportioned to Indians and Asians in general. The main languages spoken in South Africa are isiZulu, which is about 24.7%, isiXhosa, which is about 15.6%, Afrikaans, and that is the adulterated languages introduced by, language which was introduced by the Dutch colonists. that is about 12.1%. Sepedi, 9.8%. Setswana, which is spoken both in Botswana as well as South Africa. And then English is 8.4%. But that is not to say because English is 8.4%, it means that it is a minor language. It is the major language, actually, which is spoken by every South African who has formal education, so to speak. And then you have Sesotho, which is spoken in both South Africa and Lesotho. And we have other ones that constitute about 12.5%. We have the major religions to be Christian and traditional African religion to be about 5.4%. Muslims are also, they constitute about 1.9%. And other here refers to minor religions, which are not so significant. They constitute about 6.7%. Now we want to look at the economic landscape. And again, just as we talked about India, we looked at the most current index of economic freedom in South Africa. And again, why do you see that to be important? Because as far as digital marketing is concerned, you should understand the investment climate, the economic landscape. And here we look at, is the market open? How free is the trade practices? How free is the investment practices? How free is the financial sector? And then just like in US here, we have regulatory agencies that oversee, for example, if it is has something to do with the environment, we have the Environmental Protection Agency. It's the same thing in South Africa. They also have regulatory efficiency, but the efficiency for business freedom, in other words, the ease of doing business, about 62.0%. Monetary freedom in terms of exchange rates, which is influenced by demand and supply. And then labor freedom, how mobile is the labor, how resilient and well-educated is the labor force, and all that constitute about 58.8%. And I think I have to emphasize here that, and not to go into the details of giving percentage, assigning percentage to every one of them, but the key thing that I want to stress on is that if we are talking about rule of law, we want to see that their property rights, if it is 58.4%, then that's cool. Judicial effectiveness in terms of the implementation of the law for business practices in South Africa, if it is of 38.0%, it means that there isn't enough backing for the judicial system for businesses. So an investor has to look at that. Government integrity, what the government does to instill confidence in the population is what is referred to as government integrity. That is 46.6%, which means that the level of corruption seems to be high. Now, in terms of indicators associated with the GDP per capita, exports, major trading partners, imports, major trading partners, unemployment rate, inflation. Here, our research had to go into independent source. So we try to look at this information coming from the World Bank, which is more official, because if you have to look from the South African websites or maybe sources, it was going to be maybe unadulterated figures or maybe figures that might not be very credible. So we had to look at independent sources. So the GDP for South Africa is about 368.3 billion, and the GDP per capita is about 6,000 374.03. So which means that as compared to India, which is about 2,000, you can see that the GDP per capita for South Africa is significantly higher. Now, what does it mean? It means that if you are working in South Africa, you are better off than to work in India, regardless of the fact that India had a GDP which is high, but per capita simply means that what every individual has in his pocket as disposable income is what is referred to as the GDP per capita. And then the main exports, in terms of products and services, constitute about 115 billion for product exports, and service exports is about 14.5 billion, which is significantly higher. The major trading partners are China, and you can see that the trend is just like India. China also features as one of the major trading partners. And then you may ask why. Yeah, China is seen as an emerging economy, and almost everybody wants to do business with China. Germany comes second, UK comes third, Japan comes fourth, India India comes fourth, in that order. The main imports are account for about, in terms of the 2018 figures by the World Bank, it accounts for about 95.5 billion, and then the service imports was about 15.6 billion. Now the major trading partners are China, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and India. And then the unemployment rate is about 27.0%, which is higher as compared to India, which is around 2%, thereabout. And then the inflation rate is lower, but comparatively, it seems 4.5%. It's a single-digit figure, so it's both India and South Africa have good inflation rates. The foreign direct investment inflow is about 5.3 billion, which means that the amount of money that people invest or investors invest directly is around that much. And the South African rand is the major currency.
Now we'll talk about the internet in South Africa as concerned to factors that influence the internet. In 2004, the only option for internet access in South Africa was dial-up, which it seems quite recent that in 2004 they only had an option of dial-up, because I feel like in the USA at 2004 we had more of an option than that. Since then, multiple options of accessing the internet have come to fruition. Such things as fixed line broadband like ADSL, wireless broadband options like 3G and HSDPA. With all these options for internet, location and relativity also plays a large part in how and what type of internet you receive, just like in India. Depending on what city or where you're located throughout the country is going to determine what type of internet and what quality of internet speed or quality you get. As you can see from this graph, the internet use penetration in South Africa is growing at a quite steady rate. It seems quite slow, but as long as it continues to increase, this is always a good sign. In the current year, 2020, there is a percentage penetration rate of nearly 58%. This equates to about 36.54 million users throughout the entire country. If this same rate continues, South Africa will be able to have about a percentage of about 62% penetration rate. Some trends and payment methods that are occurring within South Africa are social media. There's 22 million social media users in 2020, which is about 37% of the population. The top social media being used in South Africa is WhatsApp, Facebook with a monthly traffic of 195.6 million, Instagram with a monthly traffic of 25.6 million, and Twitter, with a monthly traffic of 25.3 million. As Dedrick and I and some of our other group mates have said before, Facebook is quite dominant in most of the countries around the world. As you can see, it's more than almost triple the amount of Instagram users and Twitter users compared to Facebook. The most visited sites that are not related to social media are Google, with a monthly traffic of 567.5 million, which is extremely large. YouTube coming in second with the monthly traffic of 169.5 million, and X videos with a monthly traffic of 28.9 million. There are about 500,000 homes with smartphones devices. So this allows people to not only access internet in places where they have like internet cafes or libraries or things of that sort. The more and more people that adopt smartphones will be able to access more and more internet anywhere they need to. Some more trends that I'll talk about now are financial inclusion factors. So one of the financial inclusion factors is having an account with a financial institution, and the population of South Africa, 67% of them do have an account with a financial institution. 8.9% of them have a credit card, 19% have mobile money accounts, and 14% make online purchases and or pay bills online. So as these numbers continue to grow and grow, the digitalization in South Africa will continue to become more powerful and penetrate more.
Cool. All right. So with the social networks and the media in South Africa, with the South African population, like Alfredo said, Prince, I'm sorry, of 58.93 million, only 36.54 of those people are frequently internet users. These numbers are increasing by the years for sure. In South Africa, ages 25 through 34 are the most active users on social media right now. And 18 through 24 is the second largest age of the most active users, which is kind of surprising. Since there isn't a very large amount of users every day, there are only a couple of social media sites that get used every day or so. So within the biggest website, as Alfredo showed you, would be WhatsApp. One of the biggest communication apps there is out there. And right behind that, as you've seen, was YouTube and Facebook, I'm sorry. So this is just another bigger platform to just show you, I guess, the percentage of the internet users from age 16 to 64. And as you can see, WhatsApp is leading the way with 89% for sure. YouTube right behind it at 87, and Facebook right there at 83. And as you can see, Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest are right underneath. So the digital marketing in South Africa. So a couple of facts. Thus, the market is one of the fastest growing in the world. South Africa is growing annually, and it is growing annually around 40%. 26.8 million people across the internet or on social media. So that's a lot. Based on their population, spending at least 3 to 4 hours every day scrolling on social media on different accounts and whatever. And at least 50% of the South African population has access to the internet, which is very good. So this is just another graph just to show you from January 2019 of the social media behaviors. And like you see, 100% of them visited or used a social media network or messaging service that in the last month. 90% actively engaged with or contributed to a social media in the past month. On an average, 2 hours and 48 minutes spent using social media. 8.5 is the average number of social media accounts per internet user. And that's just pretty crazy. And the percentage of the internet users who use social media for work purposes is 35%. So the online behavior in South Africa, so with all the social media outlets that are available to those people, the behaviors that is collected in the data helps online marketers and analysis figure out what actions our consumers are taking online. And with the COVID regulations, South Africa has not been able to shop in person, but online, which gave the country the boost they needed annually.
So I'll be talking about South Africa search engine plus FMCG characteristics, challenge, and opportunities. in comparison to other search engines like Bing, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo, and Ecosia that are being used in South Africa. Google dominates them. South Africa's own search engine is called Anase, one of the longest and ongoing and one of the first search engines. However, Anasia search engine checks each website to ensure that the South African citizens stay within South African domain, which makes one of the reasons why Google dominates the search engine. Next, I'll be talking about the challenges of FMCG based in South Africa. Just like India, FMCG is popular in South Africa. There are several challenges the FMCG face in South Africa. One of them is dealing with the differences in consumer behavior in South Africa that speaks more than one language, which makes buying decisions difficult.
All right, so I'll be talking about the mobile technology and other available technologies in South Africa. There are a good bit of the South African population seem to participate in using tech. A lot of this this technology. Like there's 85% of the South African population uses any type of mobile phone, but 60% of the South African population uses smartphones. There's 24% of South Africans that use laptops or desktop computers, and 12% that uses tablet computers, and 82% that uses devices to stream. There's 82% that uses TVs of any kind, a TV of any kind, and 3% that uses devices for streaming internet content to a television. And there's 1% that uses e-reader devices, and 2% that uses wearable devices. So the percentage breakdown of mobile usage in South Africa shows that there are there's 88% of South Africans that have an active mobile broadband connection. There's 35% of South Africans who access banking services through their mobile phones. There's 42% of South African internet users that watch videos on their mobile phones. There's 34% of African internet users that are playing games on their phones, and 42% of South African internet users that use their mobile phones to access map services. The telecommunication infrastructure in South Africa is, the telecommunications in South Africa is one of the quickest growing sectors. There's a low rate of landlines, and Telkom is the main provider for these landlines in South Africa. There are 4 licensed mobile providers in South Africa, which are MTN, Vodacom, Cell C, and Ada. There is an increase of underwater data cables in South Africa, which connects the country to the rest of the world. And their Seacom fiber optic cable system links South Africa to global networks throughout India and Europe. So a few regulations that South Africa has in telecommunications are the Electric Communications Act of 2005 and the Telecommunications Amendment of Amendment Act of 2001. So the Electronic Communication Act of 2005 eliminates policies that impede cross-sector applications, services, and businesses from being services and businesses from being developed. The Telecommunication Amendment Act of 2001 allows the Department of Communication to loosen or remove restrictions on South African telecommunications.
Thank you for listening to our presentation, and we hope you enjoyed.